Live from the AOK Production House, studio number 2, I'm Nick O'Kelly.
And I'm Derek Daisy.
And you're listening to the Echo Radio Show.
Yep. That's right. I don't know if there's any other ways to say it.
No, there's not.
Okay.
We're based, Derek, as you know, because you also live here.
I live here, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Out of Charleston, South Carolina.
Well, we're kind of based out of Charleston. I mean, that's what we tell people because they're like,
much.
Where the heck is Somerville?
Nobody knows where Somerville is.
That's true. So we just say Charleston.
The studio is located in Somerville, but Charleston is the metropolitan area, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, no. Okay, so when you want to know what to do, however, in Charleston, there is a really great resource that I often frequent called the Holy City Center. Event magazine, website, media empire.
Yes.
Whatever you want to call it, it's a great resource. And I thought, how cool would it be to bring its, head of the ship, captain, founder, on to our radio show?
That would be pretty cool.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest tonight.
Huh?
Welcome to the Echo Radio Show, Christian Senger. Welcome, Christian. How are you?
Hey, guys. Good. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Welcome.
It's what we do.
Yeah.
And we do it all night long.
Thanks for that intro. That was pretty good.
Yeah? Thank you.
I've been working on that for quite some time now.
It's about 6 months. he was trying to get the plans together, to get the proposals, and then we brought it to you, and here we are.
Now, I have your about page from your website pulled up, and you call it you call it a local blog in Charleston. I personally feel that it's more than that. However, I see that it was created in 2011. I feel like I've been reading your content for much longer than that, but I guess it's just how much there is to it. So why don't you tell our listeners, for you, what is the Holy City Center? How did you get this thing started? Where did this come from? Go.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, easy, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a native of Charleston, but I've lived here now for 11 years. And, when I first moved down here, just like everybody else, you find all those great events that are going on around town, the restaurants that people are talking about. And obviously a lot has changed in the last 11 years, but, there's still kind of those big events and those big names that everybody knows. And those are great. There's nothing wrong with any of those. But, after you live here for a while or, you start diving in a little bit more, you can find that there's so much more going on in and around the city. And I felt, at the time, we have some good local media in town, but a lot of it is, very news focused, of course, because that's what they're supposed to do. So there's not a ton of time dedicated to some of the smaller events or, the lesser known charities in town, musicians, comedians, podcasts, whatever it may be. And I was discovering new things all the time. And I thought, there isn't somewhere that's really sharing these things that much. The city paper here in town does a great job. But outside of them, there's not a whole entertainment, kind of resource for people, So I thought I'd try something out. And it did kind of start as a blog with me doing more, here's what I did today, and this is what I think about what's going on in town. But as it developed, it kind of turned into more of just a general website, not so much like a blog with opinions and things. Although I still do give those and still put my input in here and there, especially on social media. But the website was just supposed to be a place that people, whether you've lived here for a while or you're brand new to town, can see what's going on in Charleston currently and in the near future. And that's kind of been the main focus, and that part hasn't changed much since I started it in 2011. That part's still the same.
I have to be honest, there's several impressive things. Number one, when you Google what to do in Charleston, you're pretty much the number one hit on Google.
Yeah.
Nice. Good. Glad to hear that.
And I often use your events calendar because, I think my wife and I, on the weekends, we'll go out on date nights every once in a while here and there. And I always think, what can we do that's fun and exciting this weekend? And so I just pile through your calendar. And I think, how is it that you sit down and compile all this? Now, we were talking earlier, and you alluded to the fact that a lot of this is you. So tell me about your workforce.
Yeah, sure.
How do you get all this done?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder that myself. I'm kind of in a great situation where most people don't know, but number one, the blog, it really is mostly just me. The vast majority. I've had a few people here and there who may have contributed some content, or like someone who helped do some behind the scenes work on the website. But day to day, it's really just me, and I'm able to do that, thankfully, because, believe it or not, I do have a full-time job outside of the blog, the website, but I am able to, the schedule I have allows me to have some extra time in order to work on the site. I have a couple long days at work where that in turn leads me to have like an extra day off every week instead of the standard, weekend of 2 days. I'm able to have 3 days every week. And It allows me to put a little bit more work into that, be able to attend events, interview people, meet people in town and things. So, I'm thankful that I have a job that pays the bills and allows me to pursue doing Holy City Center work on the side, which is fantastic. So it does feel like at times that I have 2 full-time jobs, but the blog is definitely, the fun part. It doesn't always seem like work. It's something I enjoy doing, so it's not so bad. But yeah, I'm really lucky that I have a job that knows what I do on the side as for fun, and they don't mind and they support it. And yeah, that's the biggest reason I'm able to do this and put so much time and effort into it.
Well, for our listeners, I just did a quick count. If you just go to the homepage of your website, which, by the way, is holycitycenter.com, there you list your articles there by date, and I just counted on December 8th, which it was yesterday. There's 16 articles that got posted yesterday, all different topics.
16?
16. So, and I didn't read them all or anything. I don't know that they're all very long, but nevertheless, that's impressive. I mean, what do you do? You wake up every morning and you're like, well, let me just figure out what all's going on around town. I mean, who's telling you what's going on and where? How do you get...
It was a big day. It was a big day. I mean, I'm lucky now, too, that I've been doing it for such a long time that I have a lot of contacts in town. So at the beginning, it was mostly me just searching out things and reaching out to people and trying to get people to keep me informed. But now that I've been around for 7 years, I have a lot of people reaching out to me now instead of the other way around. So I'm kept up to date by PR firms or people, that work in restaurants or charities directly if they don't have their own team, and they'll send me press releases and things. So I'm able to be pretty up to date when things are on the horizon, and then it's just a matter of going through my emails, seeing, okay, what do I need to get posted sooner rather than later? Some people will send press releases out months in advance. Others will be the week of. They're like, hey, we got this event. Do you think you could spread the word? So, I try to, figure out what needs to be published quicker. And at this point, I've kind of gotten into a flow where, when someone sends me a press release, I know how to pretty quickly edit it down to what I feel is important to get out to people. So a lot of those 16 posts, they're not super long. I didn't have to interview someone or put a ton of time and effort into it. It's more so just taking the info, breaking it down to what's important, taking out some of the PR, terms, that they like to use to build up their client, and just boil it down to the essentials. So I've got a pretty good groove where I can punch out a bunch of, posts in one day, and it looks like a lot more work than it is. And don't get me wrong, 16 is a lot for one day. That's not normal, but and that's the other thing too. Sometimes I'll write stuff or get things ready, and I won't publish them that day. So sometimes I just have things waiting, and then I say, okay, let's push these all out today based on my schedule. So that's another thing too. Is sometimes it's not. I didn't sit down and write up 16 things in one day. Those are likely spread out over many days and have just been waiting to be published. So, I've got a pretty good groove down where I can get some of these things out pretty quickly and kind of just not have to waste a lot of time trying to figure out, how I'm going to word things. And, that makes it a little easier.
Has there ever been a place that you went to and They weren't good at all. And you're like, I really want to spread
I
the word on this.
I mean, the good thing about
what was the
Charleston
place?
is the vast majority of places here are really good. I'm not saying that. Like, we are lucky when it comes to that. But, yeah, there definitely are places where things aren't that great. My goal has always been to build up Charleston and the people who are working hard, not tear down.
See, and that's what we do. See, we maybe that's why we don't do as well as you. We're always tearing everybody down. Like that place sucks, and we Twitter it and share it to all the local businesses. It's great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean,
no, we're
kidding. Go somewhere and it's one thing if the food's not very good or it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But if I go somewhere and they're just rude or service is really bad, that's a completely different animal. You know.
Oh yeah.
There's plenty of critics in town, and that's fine. I don't think I'm that creative to do, to be writing out critiques constantly. But if there's something, whether it's just really bad service that needs to be called out or bad laws or, something going on in politics or something that I think is really egregious, I'll definitely, put it out there. But day to day, I'm not trying to write up reviews and really critique things because, something that I might not like, someone else will. If it's just a matter of taste, I try not to, talk about it too much.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, if it's something I really, really like, I'll definitely talk about that a lot just to try to get more people to keep going there and make sure it stays in business.
Well, then I guess what Nick and I need to do is start finding the things you really like and start fighting you to keep it even, Like, which is like, no, that place sucks.
Well, I heard that Christian liked this place.
I don't know what he was drinking, but that wasn't very good. I got food poisoning twice yesterday from that place.
No.
Hey, a little bit of that back and forth, that sometimes brings up some viewers and some follows and likes. People like drama. That might work.
That's right.
All right, now we have a strategy.
I can't wait. This is going to be fun.
I'm looking at your events calendar for today, though, and I don't know if Derek has seen this. I don't know if you use this calendar as much as I do. But
it's not because I don't want to. It's because Nick, you know my lifestyle.
I know.
I literally.
That's why I've got him on here.
I literally go to work. Can
you see this?
Yeah, I can see it now.
All right, this is today, Derek.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Get a life, Christian.
Yeah,
no.
What would you say?
The rivalry's already started.
Yeah.
in terms of line items, I'm not going to count this, but let's 50, 60, 80 line items here, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe longer?
More.
I mean, how do you... to me, I look at this and I say to myself, good Lord, man.
There's too much to do in Charleston.
And that's what I was telling Derek. This is how when I sit down on, let's say, Wednesday or Thursday afternoon and I think to myself, I'd like to take my wife out this weekend, what do? You are the first stop. You're where I go. And it's this calendar. And I found you through a Google search. I didn't know who you were, to be very honest. I'm talking years ago at this point. But, when I first I literally Googled, I don't know, let's say my wife and I started dating in 2012. So it was probably... I started looking at your thing probably 2013, 2014 maybe, in that area. I don't remember when the events calendar started, but I literally Googled what to do in Charleston this weekend, and you were the first hit. And I found this calendar, and I'm like, wow. And every weekend I tell my wife, I'm like, did you know that this was going on this weekend? And so how do you, for example, Derek, 11 a.m. today, Scuba Claus in the Great Ocean Tank was at the South Carolina Aquarium. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd like to see Scuba Claus.
Who the heck is Scuba Claus?
I'm assuming it's Santa Claus in scuba gear at the aquarium.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Exactly. He's in the big tank. He's swimming around. It's a great family-friendly event. But I, like you said, I would love to go, too.
Well, that makes two of you.
I know. and then at noon, there's the Winter Bazaar at the Frothy Beer. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, this seems like a full-time job. I'm shocked to hear that this isn't your full-time job. So,
dude.
And as you said, I mean, I'm sure that I came into this interview assuming you had contacts and things like that. But how do you keep up with this calendar? I mean, this to me is a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but kind of similar to what we were talking about with regular posts. It's just a matter of being kind of a groove, knowing when things are coming up, getting a heads up in advance. And another great thing is a lot of the calendar is repeating events, things that are held every single Monday, whether it's like a trivia night or, a particular band has a residency every Tuesday or whatever it is. So a lot of it is just something that with the program I have for my calendar, I can punch in the event, the details, and just have it repeat every single week. So that certainly helps fill out the calendar because a lot of businesses, Monday through Thursday especially, are doing the same things over and over again. It's later in the week when most of the, the one-offs or the infrequent events happen. So that, that part certainly helps. But outside of that, again, a lot of it is just being contacted at this point, which is great. Having people say to me, hey, and I think a lot of people do what you did, which is how they found me was just searching for what to do in Charleston, because the calendar page is by far the most looked at every single week, unless there's just a really big story that people are interested in for whatever reason. So I think a lot of people focus on that, and that includes, people who host events and run things, specials and, concerts or whatever it may be. So they're sending it to me, and the calendar is a lot quicker to post than an actual, article is, because you don't have to really do much besides punch in a few easy details, time, place. So it's actually easier for me to do the calendar than it is to keep up with new, fresh content on the main page.
Well, I mean, and that's very modest of you. But then there's things like Teddy Bear Tea at the Belmont Charleston Place Hotel, with a very detailed description of exactly what they're doing here with teddy bears and tea.
Hey, that's just a copy and paste work right there. You reach out and here's our event. Bam, I just copy and paste it. But not a lot of work.
Command V. No, that's good. Yeah.
Well,
hey, now there are lots of events that you would like as well. There are more adult events.
Yeah. Why do you keep picking all the weird kid ones, Nick?
I'm not putting the events down.
Yeah,
I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff here, and I mean,
He just hangs out at preschools.
I do.
And he's just like, what can you do?
Actually, I did the teddy bear tea today.
Yeah,
no. I am often, like I said, some of the stuff that's in here, I've never even heard of this kind of thing, much less knowing that it's there. And that's a service that, to me, is extremely valuable, especially in a town like this where there is so much to do.
Well, but I think how do you stay organized? Like, do you have, multiple calendars on apps on different devices? And you're like, all right, this is my local calendar for restaurants. This is a calendar for, miscellaneous.
What's your approach?
No, I mean... It's one big calendar. Everything on there is going to be events, or as close to an event. Sometimes restaurants will send me that they're doing a special for 1 week. And normally I'm not going to put happy hour or things like that because it's just way too much to try to keep up with. But
especially if you're drinking at happy hour.
I can choose categories underneath that, this one is food and drink related. This one is a concert. This one is family friendly. So if people want to there's controls on the calendar where people can then break it up by those categories. So if they're specifically looking for concerts that are coming up this week, they can just check on that. And the program I use, thankfully, does all the legwork and actually will put all the concerts in a row and cut out everything else. So, yeah, just one big calendar, and then of course outside of that I have my own personal one, but as far as the that's concerned, that's it, just the two, my own and then the one for the website.
Well, I also have to say that you're very prompt in your responses. We've been doing this podcast now, we've done this radio show for many years, but it's had different iterations and it's been on and off. Its current iteration we've done now almost a year, 10 months, 11 months. It's getting up there. Anyway, point is, I emailed you, I don't remember, a few months ago, actually, and because I saw that you had a list of podcasts on your website. And it was random. I follow you on Twitter and a couple other social media things, and I just happened to see it one day that it was there, and I said, maybe they'll list us, And so I sent us in, and it was hours later
You're like, no.
Yeah.
Nope, stay away from my website. And we were like, okay, we'll catch you. We'll catch you back. No.
If you ever contact me again. No, but I mean, it was not even a full day later that you responded and said, sure, no problem, here you go. And we were on there, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. Because, again, when you look at your website and all of the content there, I just assume that you're a very large organization. So knowing that...
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so now knowing that you're not, it's even more impressive that you're as prompt as you are, and we appreciate being listed, by the way.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah. Thank you for the saying all that. I mean, the way I look at it, maybe you guys do too with your podcast, is that, you know, this isn't my full-time job, so I'm not waiting for these checks to come rolling in or anything. But so it's all about, it's all about relationships and spreading good news about Charleston and things for what I'm trying to do. So I try to maintain good relationships with people and be prompt and things like that. And then in return, people invite you on their podcast after or whatever it may be. When you treat people well, they'll do the same to you, and you help each other out.
Yeah.
Well, I will give you some pretty cool feedback, though. Not long after we got listed on your magazine, we got contacted by the Post and Courier, and they did the Charleston Scene issue that comes out once a week.
Yes.
They did a podcast article and highlighted. I think there were 10 total podcasts, but we were number 2 on the list.
Yeah.
We actually got we got number 1 to come in our studio, and we talked to her and had a little competition.
Yeah, she was cool.
She was cool. But anyway, they told us they found us on your website. So there you go.
Yeah, man.
I had a feeling that they stole that content from me, but now you just confirmed it.
Oh. Dot. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
That's right. Yeah.
Was that worth it? I don't know if it was.
I had fun.
Okay. All right. I'm just making sure.
Okay. No, but definitely. So I want to know a little bit about you, though. You said you said you are not from here. So where'd you come from? And what brought you to Charleston?
I'm from Connecticut, wonderful New England.
Oh.
And I grew up there, went to college there and everything, and then shortly after college, a few of my friends who were looking for jobs as teachers were able to get jobs down here. I'm serious, it was really strange. About 3 or 4 people I went to college with all got jobs in the Charleston area. Wow. And then they decided to, live together and try to make it all work here. And so I would come down to visit because I was like, well, what's so special about this Charleston place that 4 or 5 of you decided to get jobs here?
Yeah.
And came down and, typical story of anybody who's not from Charleston, just fell in love with the area and kept coming back to visit over the course of a year or so. And was just like, I was in a place where I didn't have, a job that was, anything special. I could easily transfer down here within it and decided to just give it a shot. And then came down and was having a great time, and things just, I just never left. Just kept finding more things and really enjoying living here. And yeah, my family's still back up north, so I certainly miss them and I try to go see them, but I love it here and no plans to leave.
See, that sounds like a story from someone who comes from Ohio. See, that doesn't...
I know, it does.
That doesn't... No, Connecticut, that doesn't make sense. Nope.
When I moved here, I was worried about that. I said, I'm going to be coming from Yankee country. And come to find out, they really don't like people from Ohio for some reason, and I'm in the clear.
Well, it's because Ohio's the swing state, and that's about it. No, I have no idea. Everybody from Ohio is nice enough, but it's just that one stupid highway that goes directly from Ohio, cuts through the mountains and the hills at the Appalachian.
To grandmother's house we go.
That's right. And then here at Charleston.
Yeah. or something.
I think the hatred, too, stems from college football. People really don't like people coming here and cheering for Ohio State, so I'm sure that's part of it, too.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I'm glad the hatred was not directed towards me.
Yeah,
they can go towards Ohio.
Well, see, Connecticut hasn't really done anything, like, in the last 300 years.
They're very small.
Yeah, you guys are small.
You didn't know you were going to come on the show and get offended.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, really, since the Revolutionary War, you guys haven't really done much, right?
Yeah, I know. Why don't you get with it?
Hey, we got some good college basketball. We got some national champions. But, that's about it.
A national champ. Yeah, but who watched the national champ? I didn't. That's the first I've heard of it.
Well, this really went a strange direction.
But the irony is, I really don't watch college sports, so I don't have a horse in this race.
Derek's a Steelers fan from Florida originally.
This has been
in Delaware.
bad. Yeah, I know. And Steelers have they lost again today to the Raiders. I am having the worst 3-week stretch.
Are you a Patriots fan from being in
No.
Thank God.
Despise the Patriots. I grew up a Giants fan. And so,
right. Giants did well today.
There we go.
Yeah.
They did. Really good game today. Not a great season, but they blew out Washington.
Yeah, dude. Good job. Steelers play Patriots next week. Not excited. Not at all. I think
I'll be cheering for the Steelers. I always cheer against the Pats. The Pats had that crazy loss today. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins beat them. I was so happy.
The Dolphins have their number.
I know. Whatever.
One of those rivalries.
Always in Miami. They always tend to beat them.
It just seemed the Dolphins are like, you know what? We're going to do this one thing every year.
We're going to do that really well. Good season? No.
Yeah, no.
Make it to the Super Bowl? I don't think so.
No.
We're going to take down the guys who win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
That we win. 72 Dolphins, baby. That's how they're undefeated season.
They go to Disney World the same day. And they're just kind of there watching them parade.
Yeah.
Christian, have we converted you to a Clemson fan yet?
No, not neither though. I'm not a Gamecocks fan either. I enjoy watching both. Clemson's been a lot of fun the last couple of years, of course, but I don't really have a dog in that fight at all.
Good.
Well, I guess my other big question in terms of just your background is, I don't know if you can tell us what you do, but what did you go to college for? Did you want to get into journalism? It's just kind of turned into be a hobby. What's your
Yeah. I actually did. Yeah, I was for college. I was a journalism major in communications, so I doubled in that, and was always interested in writing and TV and radio, and did all that stuff in college and loved it. And worked. I actually was a temp at ESPN.
Hey, that's
obviously
cool.
Being in Connecticut, so not too far away. So I temped there for about a year, which was incredible, but just it was just a temp job and didn't really get in there. And then shortly thereafter I was here. So, I didn't really it didn't end up going the media route. And, I've held a couple different jobs down here, which have been, fine and pay the bills, but they're not in that realm. So the blog was kind of my outlet, and that's how I started. And now, thankfully, it kind of, scratches that itch I have for TV and radio, because I get to do those things on a weekly basis, which is great. And, be able to communicate with people, and social media makes it, a little bit easier to do that. And so I'm able to still do a media thing. I'm just doing it on my own, and don't have to answer to anybody. So in a way, I'm kind of happy it went that route. I don't have to. Sometimes I wonder if it became my actual job, if I wouldn't have ended up getting tired of it, or wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as keeping it as a hobby. So it's worked out well.
Well, once again, I'm looking at your About page, and you've now been featured in USA Today, in Southern Living, Skirtin' Magazine, BBC. These are names that's nothing to sneer at.
Do you think he knows this, being that it's
I'm
on his
assuming
website,
he
and
wrote
he's the
it.
one who makes the website?
But that's really cool.
Okay. I just making
talking
sure.
about not.
I thought you were asking him if he knew this. He's like, no. Southern Living.
No, that's amazing.
Me.
Yeah. No, but seriously, coming from the perspective of originally wanting to get into journalism, now kind of in a roundabout way, you're finding yourself basically in a niche market doing just that. What's that like? Have you considered making the switch?
No, not in a really long time. I haven't. I just I'm really enjoying what I'm doing here, and the fact that I don't have to, necessarily, like if I went into that realm, it'd be somebody kind of telling you what to do, like cover this story, cover that story, and be sure that you're doing this at this time. I can do this on my own and talk about what I want to, and the kind of whole be your own boss thing.
Yeah.
Just like you guys on the show, I'm sure you guys love doing it, and if you had an opportunity to be on a radio station, you may want to. But maybe after doing it, you'd be like, we can't really talk about what we want to talk about or have the guests we want. So, if it went that route, I'm sure it would have been nice. But yeah, it's nice to be, like you said, in a roundabout way, involved in media and still doing the types of things involving media that appeal to me without actually being a professional in that field. And being able, I've had local radio stations, TV stations, and print media reach out to me for various things, whether it's interviews or to help them on something or give them information. And so that's good enough for me, just kind of having that validation that, okay, like the people who are professionals appreciate what I'm doing. And even though it's not on their level, I'm still enjoying it, and I'm able to do what I want and talk about what I want, and it's working well for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, feedback for you. I don't use those media outlets. I use you.
Yeah, right.
I appreciate that.
It is what it is, but I'm just saying.
Hey, if you want like hard, real news, those are the places to go. They're going to be able to cover the big stories in town. They do that amazing. That's what they're there for. But that's why I started the blog. I thought it's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of cool things that get kind of pushed to the side because there's this real important news that's out there. So, that's why I decided to start it. And thankfully there's folks like you who, bought into it and appreciate it and have been able to help me keep doing it.
Well, and I mean, the other news guys, like I have to turn off notifications for those other guys because it feels like somebody's getting shot and killed every other 5 seconds down here. And I'm just like, man, that sucks. Yeah. But you, I get to hang out with scuba claws. I don't, whoa. That's some news.
Don't put scuba claws down.
No,
that's my part-time job.
That was. I don't mean that it is a slight to him. I'm just saying that was one of the positive things off of his site. Where all the other news guys are like, "Whoa, it's gonna snow and 47 people were murdered today downtown West Ashley." You probably want to avoid that area. It's not too
funny, but it is funny.
Not too good. But you're like, "Hey guys, there's gonna be a." a potato sack race on King Street, and it's going to be from
a great idea.
1 to 3 o'clock today. Free beer at the end, so have fun, drink and drive.
we do not condone.
No, you're right though. I mean, real news, especially the last couple of years, is just it can really just bring you down, and it's not a lot of good stuff that's out there going on, and news. People are going to cover those things because they do get the views and whatnot. But it's real tough. So being able to focus on that stuff is good for me personally too. Just focusing on the fun things that are going on, the new businesses that are opening, and charities doing great work in town. Unfortunately, I still do see those stories, and every once in a while, Charleston has something horrible happen that becomes part of national news. But the vast majority of the time, I can focus on the fun stuff and the good stuff and not a lot of negative. So I know personally it's good for me, and hopefully same thing. It's a good escape for other people as well from the regular news.
Yeah. Well, and all that other news, a lot of times it ends up being clickbait. I feel like they're trying to get you mad at something that you're like, well, that wasn't as bad as the headline made it seem.
Yep.
Like he was just buying candy. What was the issue? I didn't. All right. Yeah. So I do appreciate non-clickbait stuff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Speaking of the fun stuff in Charleston, though, okay, now we've recently really become we've always been a tourist destination, but I feel like in the past years it's really become lots of events, lots of big festivals. What's your favorite thing, let's say annual thing that happens in Charleston? What's your favorite thing to do in the Charleston area?
Okay, here we go.
That's tough. There's a lot, but annually, there's a lot of fun things, obviously, and I enjoy doing many of them. But the Charleston, this is coming up, the Charleston Comedy Festival every year is always really fun for me. Charleston has a growing comedy scene, so there's a lot of, pretty good local comics. But the last few years, they've brought in some pretty good names in comedy. I like to watch a lot of stand-up and listen to a lot of podcasts that feature comedians, and that, kind of about what we were talking about with the whole news thing, something a little lighter. So it's been fun to see some of the big names that they brought in over the last few years, whether it's, someone like Hannibal Buress or Eliza Schlesinger, Jim Brewer this year, Rory Scoville, and Jamie Lee are coming, and just always good, a nice variety. They have stand-up, they have improv, sketch comedy and things. It's just a nice change of pace from nothing wrong with the food events. Food events are amazing and great, but just something a little different than what we're used to. It's usually food focused or alcohol focused events. This is just a little bit something different. So I think, at least currently, that's been the one I've looked forward to the last couple of years.
Did you know Dusty Slay?
Yeah, I've talked to him a few times. I never spoke to him in person, but through email when he had shows in town, he would let me know he was coming back, and I'd post about it. And we chatted once, I think on the phone when he had an album coming out. So yeah, he's up to big things right now too.
Yeah, when I first moved down here, a friend of mine, we were roommates at the time, still a friend of mine, but we had a radio show at the time together, a different one than this, on Kinetic Hi-Fi back in the day.
Yeah, I used to be on that as well.
You were?
Really?
No way.
Yeah. I don't think you were there anymore, or maybe you were just at a different time, but I was on a show with my friend Megan called Holy City Speak. And it was just about Charles. It was kind of like an extension of what I was doing on the website. She had been doing the show for a while.
She's still doing it, isn't she?
For the last couple of years.
Isn't she still doing it?
No, Kinetic was sold. Boyd sold it to somebody who's turned it into their own thing now.
I didn't know.
That's so weird.
Still radio, but
we were all on Kinetic. Yeah, because we had our To the Echo.
We did. Yeah, I didn't know that. We did To the Echo on there. Yeah. I did the Sit and Spin with Drew. So I'm good friends with Boyd. And I of course Megan was doing that at the time. I didn't know you were on it later. That's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Later on, last couple of years at Kinetic Hi-Fi, I think I did it for 2 years with her, and then we kind of were calling it quits as the station was kind of ended its run. But I think it's back up, and it's just changing gears a little bit and has some new shows and things. But it was fun. I enjoyed doing it while I was on it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that actually because I haven't talked to Boyd in a couple months, and I noticed that it was back up recently, and I wasn't sure what the story there was. Anyway, that's really cool.
Yeah,
how cool is that? I did not know that.
Yeah. Charleston's a small town.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, Drew and I did Sit and Spin, and he was a comedian. He still is a comedian, and he did. We brought pretty much every comedian in town on. We were friends with all of them.
Yeah.
And Dusty was on a few times.
Nice.
So we were buddies back in the day. But I thought it was pretty cool that he's got a show. He's working on a show. Did you know that, Derek?
No.
Yeah, he's gonna do like a sitcom.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, his concept or whatever was picked up by ABC.
Yep. Or
they bought the rights to it. It hasn't been picked up to even be a pilot yet, but it's in those beginning stages where they bought the rights to it basically. So hopefully it'll get developed and get a pilot and then be picked up to series. But yeah, I heard that was like a month or so ago. It's pretty incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw him on Jimmy Kimmel. Huh. And was it Jimmy Fallon? He was on two of them. I think Jimmy Kimmel was definitely one, and then there was another one he was on. Great sets.
Kimmel, he was definitely with Kimmel. I don't remember the other one either, but yeah, I remember Kimmel. That was big news around here too when that happened. He's just went from Charleston to Nashville. Now he's on national TV and may have a series. We get some pretty cool things happening to people.
Yep. Yeah. I think so too.
Then there's that kooky '90s band Hootie and the Blowfish. They're going back out. And, whoa, 2019.
Now, I actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Derek. Segue, Christian, I wanted to ask you about that since you're the events guy in Charleston.
Ooh,
why not?
Here we go.
I'm a little disappointed, but hopefully they'll make up for it. They're not doing the not Southern Ground. Shoot, the homegrown concert because they're touring with Sister Hazel. What do you think about that?
They're touring Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah. Isn't there one in 2019 with Sister Hazel though?
No.
Anyway,
they've played with Sister Hazel before, not this tour. No, I don't think so.
Anyway, the tour is the reason they canceled the homegrown. I think. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I was pretty surprised to hear that. I'm pretty bummed because even though I don't go every year, it's always fun. People get so excited about it around here, and the whole weekend is always there's a buzz around town because people just really love Hootie and the Blowfish. And not just that they're not going to play here, but the fact that homegrown weekend is a big charitable thing that they do for local schools. So that was the reason I was really surprised. So I'm sure they're going, like you said, I'm sure they're going to make up for it, still donate, still have something going on. But when they announced the tour and there was no Charleston shows, I looked and I thought, there's a couple, like 4 or 5 day breaks in their schedule in August, and normally they play in August at Daniel Island. So I thought maybe they'll squeeze one in there, but a couple days later they announced no, they're not going to do it. So I was pretty surprised. But you know what? They may not do it, the annual thing, but I'm sure they'll find a way to incorporate Charleston at some point next year and do some kind of show. Maybe it'll be earlier in the year since the tour is not until the spring and summer. But they'll be working on an album too, so who knows?
Yeah. I'm always surprised. Daniel Island, of course, I'm sure you'll agree, has really grown into something special over there. And I drove by recently and saw all the new construction because I was gone for a couple of years. And when you come across 526 Bridge over to Daniel Island, there's a lot of new construction right across from the tennis stadium. But I'm always impressed when you go to an event there, whether it was the Southern Ground with the Zach Brown festival at the soccer stadium, or the homegrown concert, which is always a big event, or just Family Circle or whatever. The logistics of getting on and off Daniel Island seemed like it would be a complete nightmare, and they're not that bad considering there's only 2 exits. So I'm always curious as to how they make that happen.
Yeah, it is impressive that they can, like you said, there's not a lot of ways to get on or off that island. So, there is some traffic, especially the bigger shows like Hootie, but they seem to do a pretty good job of making sure people get out of there quickly, which, you can't say for some other venues in town that have been doing it longer. They have done a really good job.
Yeah. So, now, another burning question for me. Tell us about the name. Now, you got a little devil guy as your logo with the halo, Holy City Center. Where did this come from? Are you what's going on with the name? I like it. I just want to know what the background is.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, you guys live here. Charleston's nickname is Holy City, the Holy City.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was a really cool nickname, especially for a town with so much history. And when you go to other cities, you see skyscrapers, and here it's church steeples, and just makes it a little bit different than everywhere else. So I always thought that was pretty cool. But at the same time, there's a lot of, especially nowadays, but also in its history, a lot of debauchery, a lot of kind of shady or, kind of on the darker side of things going on around town. So I thought, you have a place where people are getting, crazy and drunk and being wild on Friday and Saturday nights. At the time when I moved here, like on Market Street was the place to be. And then Sunday, bright and early, they're at church, So I always thought there was that weird kind of dichotomy, the 2 sides of Charleston. So I tried to play off of that and decided Holy City Sinner might be pretty good, and toyed around with a couple of names, but that one just seemed to be the one that stuck, especially since it was just Sinner, one person, so it could just be me, since it was my it was just going to be my blog at first. And people, I wasn't sure how people were going to respond, but people seem to like the name. They get it. It's a tongue-in-cheek thing. They're not coming to a site that's going to be all negative or, someone causing like real trouble around town. They get it. There's 2 sides to Charleston. There's fun, and there's, fun that's a little naughty or, a little bit debaucherous. But, but they know that, overall nothing crazy is going on, and you can enjoy both sides of Charleston.
Well, give me this. What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite bar in Charleston? Boom.
Favorite restaurant is probably Edmund's Oast. Has been for a while now. I know that there's, nicer restaurants as far as, might be more upscale and things. But that one has been consistent for me, even though they've changed chefs. And so there's been some menu changes, but it's always something fresh and seasonal on their menu. They've expanded their property to include an outdoor patio area. They have an amazing bar program, with 20 plus different beers that they make in-house that are available at any time. So just for me, and just the space is really sleek and cool. There's like the chef's counter, so you can see people cooking while you're eating, or you can be at a community table or what have you. And I think they just do everything really well, from service to food and everything. So the favorite bar in town, it's tough because there's so many different ones, but the Alley has always been my go-to place.
Yep. Good place, yeah.
Because, there's nicer places if you're looking for like a fancy cocktail night kind of thing. But I just really love the Alley because it's a wide swath of people that'll be there. It's casual. They throw fun events. There's bowling as well as really good food. And then again, beers. If it's kind of what they have, cocktails as well. Beer is kind of what brings you in. And they have video games and things. Just really cool. That's probably my favorite spot. It's been my number one spot for a while.
I always forget about the Alley, but I have a buddy, and we like to go. We like to double date, I guess we should say, to the grocery a lot. And a few times after we left there, it's one of his go-to places is the Alley. That we walk over there, and it's cool. You can go in there and bowl, and it's really, really neat little joint there. I always thought that it was. I always thought it was like
a lot of space too.
Yeah, I remember the first time I ever drove by it. I was like, "What is that? An arcade?"
It kind of looks like it with the kind of the retro lights out front and everything on their side.
Yeah. And I was going to make a comment too, Edmonds Oast. I have not been since they changed chefs. I had heard some bad things. So it's good to hear that it's good because we went a couple times actually, but right after they opened, my wife and I went and ate at the chef's counter, and I was blown away. I mean, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, they came out and gave us an amuse-bouche, and it was free and it was delicious, and we had a great meal. At the chef's counter, got to talk to the person that was shaving the meat and everything. It's a farm-to-table kind of place, really great downtown. Yeah. But the cool story I had from there was, I guess it was the chef or maybe it was the owner. I don't know if it's the same person. But anyway, someone in that vein had just gotten married and had saved part of their wedding cake and had made a porter out of the wedding cake.
Oh, nice.
And it was a wedding cake porter, and it was delicious.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
They're doing super creative things. Like, people always talk about their peanut butter and jelly beer there, too.
Yeah.
Which, when you hear it, you're kind of like, I don't know about that. And that was exactly what I thought. But people kept telling me, this is probably 3 or 4 years ago now when they launched it, but people were like, you got to try it. It's so good. I'm like, all right, I'll try it. And it really was good. Like, it's surprising that a beer that can have flavors of peanut butter and jelly is actually really good, but it is. Like, they do all sorts of creative things. They have like a really good beer program there. It's pretty great what they do.
Peanut butter and jelly beer?
Yeah.
I know it doesn't sound good, but trust me,
it sounds amazing. I'm just trying to imagine what that would be like in beer.
Yeah, I had. I was down in Disney World this weekend, and I had a eggnog ale that was made in Clearwater, and that was.
Did it taste like eggnog?
It did. It tasted just like eggnog.
Oh my
God. It was very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Wow.
Anyway, well, Christian, I tell you what, I am so glad you came on tonight. It's really cool to meet you. I have to say, your site is, I already loved it, as I've told you, but it is worlds more interesting now, knowing that it's just you doing it, and it's very impressive what you're going there.
That's really kind. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it because, again, you gave us a bit of publicity in your own right.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if you meant to do that, but you did.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I'm glad it worked out, and now you guys are giving me some, so it's perfect.
That's right.
There you go. It's a vicious circle, but in a good way.
Yeah.
We would love to have you on. We have a standing invitation here, and we'd love to talk to you again sometime in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. Anytime.
Yeah, and keep it up. I mean, because like I said, I use that event calendar all the time.
Yeah.
And
if you go away, what are we going to do?
Seriously, I don't know what I'll do, because Charleston Scene's once a week, and they don't really cover it to the extent that you do. And City Paper is also good to an extent, but I feel like you're just more detailed in general. So it's really, really cool what you got going on. Yeah. So we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yes. And all the luck to you, and have a great Sunday night.
Yeah.
All right, you guys too. Thank you.
All right, Christian, great to meet you. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
All right, bye-bye. Well, Derek, there goes Christian Senger.
Yeah.
You know what?
What? You didn't have him tie his stuff, but let's talk about the website.
Yeah, I didn't have him. I always have them
plug themselves.
But I have all his information here. I mean, it's pretty obvious because it's a website.
Yeah.
So it's holycitycenter.com, spelled just like it sounds. Holy, HOLYCITYSINNER.
Like sinner, not center.
No, sinner. Like
sinner, like I'm sinning.
Evil, yeah.
Like I've joined the devil.
holycitycenter.com, and if you Google that, you will absolutely find it. If you Google what to do in Charleston, you will find it. They are, like I said, one of the most, if not the most, detailed events calendar that we have in this town. And we really kind of wanted to reach out to some local people that are working in the area. We've talked to local artisans. Mm-hmm. I've been interested to try to reach out to local people who are making it happen in this town in terms of events, in terms of food, in terms of bringing things in. I mean, this is a backdoor infrastructure that you don't hear about much.
Yeah, right.
And Charleston has grown a lot.
But it still, at the same time, feels small. It's kind of weird, man. Like, we were all part of the same circle and didn't realize it, you know?
I didn't know he was on.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah, Connecticut.
I wonder if he knew that before when we met. He didn't mention it, but when I talked to him earlier today... But I wonder if he knew who I was.
Yeah. Because you were the loudmouth in the station before. Remember?
We were one of the only regular radio shows in the beginning.
Yeah, but didn't you when you started, you went on from the bleachers, didn't you? Or like, where did you start? Yeah, it
was... From the Bleachers was the first one. Yeah. So From the Bleachers was the sports show.
You came in to help out, and you just took over the show. They're like, wow, this guy... Because the other guy was very Southern. He's like, wow, this guy's he's like a radio voice, you know? He like really...
Never forget that.
I listened to that one.
I did... I was at a Panthers game.
Yeah.
And my roommate at the time that we did sit and spend together, Drew Howard, told me, he said, well, when you get there... It was the same night as their show. He said, why don't you call in and talk about the game? And because I was there, I was at the game. And so I called in and talked to them, and they were like, why don't you come on the show? That was a lot of fun. And I came on, and they're like, where did this guy come from?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's when I met Boyd.
Yeah, and they were like, you need to do your own show. And then you started doing that, and then you're like, we need to do a show. And so we went with the 3-hour segments.
Yep.
And
then I did Bad Tomato. Radio station out of Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah. How's that going? Like, how did that go? Like, are they still...
I don't know. I did it after I stopped doing Kinetic for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess they're still doing it. I'm friends with them on Facebook. I haven't heard from them in a long time.
Yeah. Did you just stop and that was it?
Yeah, it was the same thing that I did with Kinetic, where I took over the station from my home studio.
Oh.
They gave me the programming info to log in.
Oh, and then post your stuff when you were ready to go.
I did it live.
Oh yeah, well that's what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
so
you would chime in and then go live. Yeah,
yeah. Boyd would Boyd and Bad Tomato set it up to where they would cut the feed automatically and restart it.
Yeah.
And I took over, and a couple times Boyd forgot to restart the feed.
Yeah.
To set it up automatically, so I would just play music the rest of the night.
Oh.
So it wouldn't be dead air. I'd do it from my house.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, Megan, I haven't talked to her in a long time, but she was with Boyd for a while.
Oh, yeah?
That was his girlfriend.
And,
yeah. She's super cool.
Yeah?
Her show, City Speak, she did it for a long time.
Yeah. God, I probably haven't seen Boyd since we played. Remember when they were looking at building that studio and all that in that building right downtown?
The art studio.
Yeah. Whatever happened to that?
I have no idea. The building is still there. It's something else in there now.
Yeah, everything just kind of fell apart. They were going to build a stage there so bands could play.
It was a great idea.
Dude, it was a great idea.
I thought it was a great idea.
I was excited because I just moved here.
That was when we started To the Echo, that's what I told you. I thought we could turn this into at some point, was where you had we wanted to do a band, but a radio show that kind of takes place in the green room kind of thing, you know?
And you were kind of put in charge. Like, it sounded like you were going to be in charge, like you were going to be running the meetings with the investor. Because there was, like, for everybody who doesn't know, like back when 2012, they were like there was supposed to be a big investor that was going to get involved, and they were going to buy all this really expensive equipment. And they were going to get us involved to pick it out. And,
yep. And I was super excited.
Yeah, and then something just fell apart.
I don't know. I think after Brad passed, Boyd had a hard time, and I don't know. I really don't know what happened. I hate it because it was as you can see, it was really a part of the community there for a long time, and I miss it because we made a lot of connections, we made a lot of friends. There was a lot of support behind that station in general.
You remember that DJ? Mike
Bills.
Mike Bills.
Mm-hmm. He's still doing that.
Yeah, I made a commercial for Mike Money. Hi, I'm Mike Money. And it's funny. At my work, I've bumped into him 3 or 4 times, and I only know him.
Really?
No, I know him by voice. So when he starts talking to me, I'm like, oh, I know who this is.
And you've never told him?
No.
Oh, you should.
No.
You should say, hey,
I mocked you once.
You.
I made a commercial completely ripping your commercial off and joking about you.
You know, it's funny because Drew's doing that now. He's doing wedding DJing, just like Mike Bills.
Yeah?
Did you know that?
No.
I think it's going well. He's got business cards. He does it pretty often.
Well, everybody can have a business card. Are you getting business?
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I mean.
Good.
He started getting business, so he's doing it. So
yeah, all you people who are listening have no idea what the hell we're talking about. But
we're reminiscing
about the early days.
I do miss Connecticut Hi-Fi. It's really cool that Christian, I apologize that I didn't have you plug yourself. HolyCityCenter.com.
Yeah,
I got caught in the moment. I forgot to say that, but I mean, like I said, it's a website.
Yeah,
go to it. You should, and I'm sure if you're listening and you're in the Charleston area, you do, because that's where I get, like I said, that's where the events calendar is. So it's very, very useful resource. I had no idea he was on Connecticut Hi-Fi. That's very cool. I was like back in the day. And he's like, I did that after you.
Yeah. Yeah. So about 2013, because isn't that when about the time you got out of it?
Oh man, I think we started in 2010 with From the Bleachers, and I think it went longer than that.
Well, yeah, because 2014's where with Brad and
it was 2015, I think, when it fizzled out.
Well, because if you remember, like we played a show and Brad came to it.
I know,
and that was the last time we had seen him.
I know.
Yeah,
Brad Cooper, rest in peace.
Yeah, man, he was a nice kid.
He was. He was going places, and I hated it.
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we missed Connecticut Hi-Fi. I think it would have been cool to see where it could have gone.
Yeah. And one day, maybe we'll do something like that.
Yeah.
Once we get 100 billion listeners here.
Like I said, I thought for the listeners, the idea was we had a radio station where we were in the back of this building that had a big open area.
Yeah.
And the idea was to create a music venue, and it would have been Sirius has this.
Yeah.
A lot of radio stations have this. I mean, if you think Howard Stern has an area in there that, I don't know if he has bands in there, but it's a larger area where you could do something like that.
Yeah, like get 100, 150 people in a room.
Yeah.
Like in a band kind of plays on the stage. Nothing huge, but enough to
have an intimate concert.
Intimate concert, and you can hook it up and then play it directly on the radio.
Yeah, live stream it.
Yeah.
Which, why not? That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think that there are concerts on the radio, but that's something that happened a lot more in the 70s and 80s where that was happening. It's interesting because I've been learning the piano again, and I'm doing well. But
he's doing all right.
But Elton John, I've been trying to learn a lot of his songs because they're great and I love them, and it helps me learn. I've been watching some of his videos, and he did that a lot in the 70s where he would do an entire concert that was broadcast on the radio.
Yeah.
And if you go watch the videos, it's really interesting because you'll notice, and you have to look closely because the mics back then were so thin, but he'll have 2 or even sometimes 3 microphones all in a line in front of him at the piano, and it's because they're different. One's the video, one is the the radio station mic, and it's all these. That's how they had to do it back then. They couldn't pipe it all into one thing. Everyone had their own little thing.
Wow.
So if you go watch those videos from those type of performances, you'll notice. Usually it's just 2, but I've seen 3 mics right in front of his mouth.
Creepy.
Very interesting, right? Like a press conference.
Yeah, right.
Live streaming an entire show. There was one that was like 2 hours long, and it's just him.
Wow.
And he did a 2-hour-long radio broadcast show, and it's also on YouTube. You can go watch the whole video. But you don't see that kind of thing much anymore.
No.
and I think it would be super, super cool. But
unfortunately, we don't have money.
Yeah.
We don't have vision.
Yeah,
and we suck.
I got vision up the butt.
I know.
I don't know the quote, but
yeah, a little bit of vision.
Okay. Well, anyway, Christian, thanks so much for coming on. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Been looking forward to talking to him. So,
yes.
Next Sunday, you can look forward to our wrap-up show.
That's right.
For Christmas, because I can't believe it, but...
And, of course, we'll have a show on Wednesday.
Yep.
Got a nice little fun skit. I like it.
The year is flown by.
I know.
When I think about all that I've done this year, it's just crazy.
Yeah, we got... since we started this iteration, because you had mentioned it, we had done a couple test episodes late March of the 2018, and so that will be... But our first official... Like, we put it out there when we were not embarrassed episode of this year was in April. So April is the first. So 8 months.
8 months, but still.
Oh, I mean, plenty of episodes. 60-something episodes, 70 episodes, something like I don't know. But
almost a year. I mean, the majority of this year we've done it, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
And then we'll have our 2-hour episode of cap all of this off on Sunday. Nick, I guess we're doing some commentary over some skits.
Yeah, I'll pick a couple, one or maybe 2 skits, and we'll just do some old ones. We'll do some commentary.
Yeah. Look back.
Like I said, I want to try to get a Christmas-themed game, and just have a nice conversation about what's coming up, what we've done, what we plan to do next year. Yeah.
Very cool.
And then we'll have hiatus.
Yeah. A couple weeks, you're going to go down to L.A. Anaheim.
Super excited.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I haven't been since college.
Yeah.
It was 2009. 2007.
I haven't been since 2000.
That's when I went to my intern.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. I haven't been since 2010.
Oh, yeah, for the cruise. I keep forgetting about
cruise.
that. Yeah.
Oh, and then I did play a wedding over there,
okay.
2013, 14. Yeah. Well, cool. Well,
I'm Nick O'Kelly.
I'm Derek Daisy.
To the Echo
Radio Show.